Hey everybody, Brian Zayn here. Hope you had a great Father's Day weekend, especially if you're Christian Cage. My weekend was chock full of wrestling excitement, to say the least. On Saturday, I was part of POW Pro Wrestling in Eugene. That was also the same day as WWE holding their Clash at the Castle event in Glasgow, Scotland. It was their return to the UK since, Clash at the Castle in Cardiff and then Money in the Bank in London. And of course, the last couple of years, the reputation of these premium live events taking place outside of the contiguous 48 states. Certainly, it's been a strong one. These crowds internationally and in Puerto Rico have just been off the wall and been so fun to listen to over the last couple of years. And so will that reputation, will it be met here on this show in Glasgow? Hopefully so, because we've got a lot of home country talent that's actually going to be competing in this show that is presented, by the way, by Gin and Juice. I never thought in my lifetime I would hear a statement such as Gin and Juice presents a WWE show. I thought, that's amazing. Look how far Dre and Snoop have come from then. The show begins with an I Quit match for the Undisputed WWE Championship as AJ Styles challenges the Women's Tag Team Champion talent name. I mean, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Don't worry though, they did fix that botch in the replay. You're not going to see that when you watch it back on Peacock. I love the way they got from Backlash to Clash at the Castle with this storyline here. AJ, faking the retirement after losing at Backlash and then swerving at the end. Very reminiscent of what Mark Henry did to John Cena many years ago. And people even made the connection of both men were wearing pastel colored blazers at the time of their so-called retirement. I think it's brilliant. I think this one was a bit easier to detect when you're watching it than, say, the Mark Henry swerve all those years ago. Still very well done, and I think, again, just a great excuse to prolong this storyline and to work in the I Quit stipulation after that retirement swerve. And yeah, just really well done. And I think this feud has been as great for AJ Styles in particular, somebody who's not really been in a main event picture for quite a while. It's good to see him back in that stage. I love all the stats that Michael Cole busted out about I Quit matches and pay-per-views and WWE Championship matches using I Quit rules. So the last time that title changed hands in an I Quit match was back in 2009 with Cena and Orton. The tradition of these loud, boisterous sing-along chants at these international shows continues in full effect here. Some great ones in this match alone. AJ Styles, you're a wanker. Then there's a sing-along Cody Rhodes, Cody Rhodes. That was a lot of fun. They very early in this matchup, they spill to the outside, fight through the crowd, and even into the gorilla position, these back hallways and things. I love the fact that there's these tables, these guys standing behind it, all this very expensive equipment they're working with in Gorilla, and these guys are just fighting within inches of them, and they don't move a bit. They could not be bothered to try to even pretend to get out of the way of these two guys fighting. They make their way back into the ring. Cody's got a figure four locked in at one point. I love that suplex tumble they take out of the ring too. Brainbuster on the announce table by AJ. That was a crazy move here. And we start to see the involvement here from Cody's mom, Mama Rhodes, as The Rock coined the phrase earlier this year. Everyone was kind of speculating that Mama Rhodes, Michelle Rubio, would be involved in this matchup here because they make a big deal of her being there in the first place. And we do get a little bit of that. AJ does get into her face a couple of times as Cody is busted open. AJ just keeps beating up Cody, but the champ refuses to quit. AJ even Pillmanizes Cody's neck with a chair, makes him pass out to the STF, and still none of this is causing Cody to relent. AJ gets a bag from under the ring, handcuffs and a chain inside. He cuffs Cody, beats him some more. Cody still says no. AJ getting in Mama Rhodes' face, slaps him 3 times, and then he immediately grabs a chair and starts making his way toward her. Whoa, wouldn't that have been amazing if he just all of a sudden snapped? It's gonna happen eventually. If you're gonna use Mama Rhodes at ringside for these things, I feel it's going to get to a point at some point where she's going to get wrecked. It's like some heel's going to beat her up. AJ wraps the chain around his arm and goes for the phenomenal forearm, but Cody hucks a chair at AJ. He goes down and falls through a table I totally forgot about. Cody is broken free from the handcuffs, hits all of his big moves, the crossroads a bunch. He cuffs up Styles and he beats the bejesus out of him with the chair, and AJ still says no. And finally, Cody grabs the steel stairs and is going to hit AJ with it. Finally causing Styles to say he quits. The match is over, the bell rings, Cody hits him with the stairs anyway. I absolutely love that. Then after the match, the Bloodline actually jump Cody, and then Randy Orton and Kevin Owens make the save. I give it 4 stars out of 5. I really enjoyed the roller coaster that we were taking on with this matchup. I liked how, like I mentioned earlier, how they explored the space. I liked the use of the weapons and the story that each weapon told as the match went on. The spots these guys busted out here and really just going for broke, I would say, to really just put on this big physical affair. And you could see the battle wounds all over both guys when the match was done. So it was really brutal and told a really good story. Like I said, there's going to be a point where this Mama Rhodes thing's going to turn physical. I'm guessing The Rock will do something really heinous. I don't know. That's kind of my prediction as to how it's going to escalate for WrestleMania next year. Also, when you see the Bloodline getting involved with Cody now for the first time since WrestleMania, what's that going to lead to? Are we getting a 6-man at SummerSlam? Are we getting Roman coming back at SummerSlam for a match with Cody? I think there's a lot of different ways it could go. Or where do Randy Orton and Kevin Owens fit into this? Because they're still beefing with the Bloodline. For the Women's Tag Team Championship, you've got Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defending against the team of Shayna Baszler and Zoey Stark, and the Unholy Union, the Scottish lasses themselves, Alba, Fyre, and Isla Dawn. Good to see them making their tag team pay-per-view debut. I believe both of them were in the Women's Rumble in the last year or two, so this is not their first PLE, but for them to have that tag team match here in their home country, that's a pretty cool moment for sure. Bianca's off to a good start. She tags in Jade, who shows off the power. Both champs just in the ring at the same time for a very long time. The referee's really letting it go. The two other teams appear to collude and work together to lay out Cargill, so she's out for a very long time. Alba, Fyre getting this hot tag. It leads to a big sequence where everyone lays everyone else out until Jade finally gets back up, gets this hot tag, immediately slips on the top rope doing a springboard. At least she recovered. Baszler putting Jade in a clutch. It sure looks like Jade's tapping here, but they don't call it. It even throws the announcers for a loop. Baszler's on top of Jade. Bianca with a top rope 450, landing knees first into Shayna's back. Ugh. Double team finish by the champs. But then the crowd really wakes up at this point once Fyre and Dawn get in the ring. You've got Alba kind of capitalizing here, Dawn, I should say, covering Baszler after all that to win the matchup and the tag team championships. I'm going to eat some crow here because I said that this was the easiest pick of the entire show, that the champions would retain. Oh, how confident I was. But what a cool moment this was here to see Alba and Isla winning in their home country, this big surprise moment, especially for Alba Fyre, considering the tragedy she and her family are going through, that her mother had died suddenly like 3 days prior. What a huge turnabout of emotions for Alba Fyre there, and it's great to see her kind of get that moment as well. This match I'm going to give 2.5 stars out of 5. A little rough at times. I know there's going to be people who are just going to analyze the heck out of Jade Cargill and that slip. That was unfortunate, but I think there were some problems with the ropes all night. If you look at every match, there's at least one moment with the ropes where something is kind of off about it. Maybe the ropes are too loose or too slippery, or who knows what the deal is. But, Jade Cargill, not the only person to have that happen to. At least she recovered pretty darn well. And I do think, that those kind of things happen regardless of skill set or experience, I should say. That's just the nature of the unpredictability of wrestling. Sami Zayn defends the Intercontinental Championship against Chad Gable. Now, you've got Otis and Maxine Dupree, the long-suffering students of the Alpha Academy who are accompanying Chad to ringside here. Will Sami finally talk Otis and Maxine from getting out of the dark side and bringing them into the light? There's a lot of good back and forth in the early going of this match. This match is 80% wrestling and like 20% looks and pops. So many times in this matchup, you will just see like Sami sharing a look with Otis. Big reaction, whoa! Otis sharing a look with Chad Gable. Whoa, big reaction. But it's like, it's very easy storytelling. and it works. Like, the crowd is so into this storyline right now. I think it's one of the better angles of Raw at the moment. So I think those looks and those pops are doing a lot of heavy lifting in this matchup, and I mean that in a good way. I mean, these guys are putting on a clinic. Let's not forget about that. The sing-song Cody chant has now been transferred over to Zayn. Gable with a lot of suplexes. Zayn hits one of his own, and Chad lands like right on his head. Graves, I think, breaks the commentary team here because he says, "Oh, Chad Gable might be a couple inches shorter than he was going into this match. Don't tell him I said that." Chad grabs the championship off the pedestal. He wants Maxine to hit Sami with it, but she won't do it. Chad gets in her face. Sami goes for a haluva kick, almost crashes into Dupree. Chad tries to capitalize the chaos theory, but can't do it. There's more berating. Otis gets into Chad's face. We get that pop again, but Sami dives out. Otis takes the bullet. Gable moonsaults onto the both of them. Sami counters an ankle lock on the outside, and Chad accidentally chop blocks Maxine. We get that look again with Otis and Chad, and by now the fans are just begging Otis to clean Chad's clock and just put us all out of our misery and the abuse that Chad has been hurling at both of them. Chad gets back in the ring. He signals for Otis to attack Zayn. He's going to do it finally, but Maxine kind of like talks him out of it or convinces him to do the right thing, pick Maxine up and carry her away. And in that moment, Chad, it's lost for him. He takes the haluva kick from Sami, and that's all she wrote for the champion to retain. I give it 4 stars out of 5. I think that it was a great showcase of technical wrestling. I'm sorry if you hear my dog yapping in the backyard as this review is happening here, but it was a great combination of technical wrestling and just great storytelling. Again, if all you have to do to get the crowd to react louder to any of your moves is just share a look or whatever, or have that beat, then I think you've won in the grand scheme of things. This is a very easy storyline to get behind, and building more into that disillusion of the Alpha Academy, and it really makes you wonder where they're going to go with it, because I was expecting Otis to make an impact in this matchup. He certainly did. I thought it was going to go the other way and Chad was going to win, but where this goes now, that Chad looks very pissed off and sullen and like possibly psychotic after that matchup. How's he going to take it out on them on Monday? We'll have to see. But again, this is a very interesting storyline so far. Bayley defends the Women's Championship up next against Piper Niven, who of course really cut her teeth in the wrestling business in the UK and a big name in ICW as Viper. Really cool to see her getting her moment here. Also really neat to see her paying tribute to the UK wrestler Lionheart, Adrian McCallum, who passed away back in 2019, and the wristband on her leg I thought was really a neat tribute by her. Chelsea Green's at ringside, and from the get-go she is a nuisance and trying to get involved in this matchup here. She gets right up in Charles Robinson's face on the apron, who just stands there for a while and takes it until finally he ejects Chelsea, so she's out for now. Piper with a big rolling dive off the apron onto the floor. Bayley trying to fight back with a lot of headbutts, but is hit just once back and goes down. A lot of physical back and forth in this thing. Bayley finally fights back with some big offense. We get a big Bayley to belly off the top rope, but then in comes Nacho Chelsea, or as I heard someone say on Twitter, Chelsea Verde. Big Piper driver as a result of the distraction, but Bayley kicks out. We get a boss man slam on the floor. Bayley trying the Rose plant a couple of times, but Piper keeps slipping out of it. Bayley hits a big crucifix pin on the challenger and gets the 3 count to retain. 3 stars out of 5 for me. I'm a really big fan of Piper Niven. I was following her a little bit before she got signed, and big fan of her work. I think that she is one of the top ladies in WWE right now, and I'd love to see her get that time to shine and get that singles gold. It just wasn't going to happen here, even in her home country. I think just the way Bayley is right now as champion, the way her momentum's going, it would have been nice, but it's just not that time yet. But I think that Chelsea Green is also great in her role. The duo of Piper and Chelsea, it's so funny how it began so kind of ham-fistedly because Sonya Deville got injured, and it just worked out, and these two have developed a great chemistry. Main event time for the World Heavyweight Championship, where the Judgment Day is barred from ringside. So how is the champion Damian Priest gonna get out of this pickle when he has to defend against Scotland's favorite son for the evening, Drew McIntyre? Of course, it was 2 years prior in Wales where McIntyre was screwed out of the championship match against Roman Reigns, and a lot of people feeling that this was going to be his time to finally win a championship in front of a crowd and his own home country, no less. So is this finally going to happen? I will say it is loud here, the loudest all night. We get that decibel reading here. They are never going to pull that out in the States unless for a stadium show, I reckon. Drew's all over the champion at the start of the match. Things begin to slow down. Damian fights back. There's a Michinoku driver by McIntyre, which has to be the 4th or 5th one we've seen all night, yes? There's a scary moment where Damian goes for that step over the rope dive he does, but his leg is caught in the ropes for shootsies. He is stuck in there, and it's amazing he didn't break something, didn't hyperextend his knee, because that kind of injury, the tautness on those ropes, can really mess you up. I think maybe the fact that they were as loose as they were might have helped Damian in that situation, but that was pretty scary. Glad to hear he's okay. They recover, they keep going. Priest hits the razor's edge, but Drew kicks out. They trade all the blows, Damian hitting the Glasgow kiss, or as it's known there, a kiss. On the outside, Drew hitting a Claymore onto Priest through the barricade. Back in the ring, Damian was south of heaven from out of nowhere, but Drew kicks out. Priest with a heavyweight Hurricane Rana, but McIntyre hits the Claymore, somehow a kick out. The referee gets laid the hell out, flies off the apron, and collides into the barricade. We get another Claymore. Another ref comes in. The 1, the 2. Suddenly the referee stops. Camera cuts to the other side, and it's CM Punk. What a reveal that was. What a great use of your camera angle here. Drew gets in Punk's face. He's taking a dick kick city. Then Damian hits the south of heaven. The first referee comes back in, counts the 3, and Priest retains. CM Punk, the hater of the year, has screwed Drew McIntyre out of the World Championship in his home country. I give this one 4 stars out of 5. This was quite the heavyweight bout, and that finish, the finish and the ending of this match, I think it's really hard to determine if it was like good or not, because I get people are upset. I was upset about this in the immediate moments because I thought this was going to be the time for Drew to get that moment. But I also get why they did this. Drew and Punk right now is like the hottest angle where they're not actually wrestling yet. There's this anticipation and there's this desire and longing by the fans to give us this. And I guess, boy, it's a blessing in disguise Punk got injured, because it's really stretched out, what we're getting from this feud. And how Drew's going to respond to this in the days and weeks to come, I'm really curious about. But it was a shocking moment, and I'm kind of surprised that we didn't get riots after that, because Punk is the good guy in this situation, just if you look in the bigger picture, but not in Glasgow, he's not. They hated that finish, and there were a lot of people just in the online sphere who hated it as well, because again, the reasoning of like, well, Drew, this is his time, and I get that. I think he's going to get more greater rewards down the line at this point. I think he's going to be rewarded for his patience throughout all this, because this Punk and Drew storyline, regardless of the championship being a factor in it, I think is going to do great for them. I think Jim Valley said it best on X/Twitter the other day, where he said that we're not really going to know if this was like a good finish or the right finish until the next time they're in Scotland. How will the numbers for attendance be then after this? Will they have killed the town if they do that? Or, what are the immediate TV numbers going to look like after this development? Are people sick of this? Or are they really intrigued? We're going to find out. So I guess we can't really say definitively, because depending on, your perspective or just kind of looking at the short picture or the big picture, it can give you a wide variety of emotions and reactions. But I think in that moment, it was a fun call. It was a fun moment. Seeing the video of CM Punk just like getting a ref shirt from Jessica Carr and she's just oblivious to what's going on makes her look really stupid. But do they need that footage of Punk finding out how he got into that position? I don't think it's kind of silly, but it seemed a little excessive. But I think that the moment was there, and I think that was really good for the story they're trying to tell. My grade for Clash at the Castle 2024 Glasgow edition is a B+. Another really strong showing. These like 5-match cards that WWE's doing in between the bigger shows, I think has been a nice change of pace. You're giving all these matches some time. You're putting them in these host venues where the crowd is hot and, like, in many cases have clever chants, and it's really cool to see like that variety. You're getting to see these big shows get this bigger feel because of the rarity of it being international, for instance, or the uniqueness of the crowd or the sounds they're making. I think it was really cool. Another example of that being really well done. No weak matches on this card, and there are some really strong story beats as well as we start kind of motoring along. We're coming up to Money in the Bank in Toronto. SummerSlam, of course, is up ahead. We got one really cool surprise with the new Women's Tag Team Champions. A surprise that, again, depending on your perspective and how you feel about the whole situation, will stick in some people's craw. But like I said, let's see how this plays out. This is a very intriguing storyline with Drew and Punk. I am curious to see where it goes from here. But again, we are going to see how business is impacted by this. Like, was it the right call to keep it on Drew? And was it the right call for Punk to piss off Scotland on that night? We're going to have to see, but I think it's a very bold choice for sure. But what did you think of the show, folks? And how about this review? Let me know in the comment section below. Give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to Wrestling with Regret. Hit that bell icon for all the notifications. This month here on the channel, we are taking a look back at Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, TNA after May, if you will. And this week, we are examining Mick Foley's time in the company, the 3 years or so he spent from the late 2000s to the early 2010s, Lockdown, EV 2.0, and everything in between. Stay tuned for that because it's coming up on Wednesday. But until then, I'm Brian Zayn, and I'll see you next time.